There's a storm across the valley. The clouds are rolling in. The afternoon is heavy on your shoulders. There's a truck out on the 4-lane, a mile or more away. The whining of his wheels just makes it colder.
Welcome to Community Forum. My name is Priscilla, Almquist-Olsen, your host, and today we have as our very special guest, Mr. David Field, who's an engineer and is head of our Department of Public Works. Dave, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? And I understand you're not an Easton native.
No, I'm not. I'm from Attleboro. Grew up there. Went to the University of Massachusetts at Dartmouth. Met my wife. We have a couple of kids. And then professionally, I started with the town of Mansfield when I got out of college. I was an engineer for them. Was the director of engineering for the town of Mansfield, town of Dedham. And then I saw the job here in Easton about 9 years ago. And I applied for it and was lucky to get it.
Wow, you've been here for 9 years?
Yes, it goes quick.
It surely does. I remember when you came on board. Well, for some of us, the older we get, the faster the time goes. So tell me what you like, what attracted you to Easton? Was it the job, or was it the town, or was it a little bit of both?
Probably both. The job kind of hit on all the aspects of my background, and it was a very busy town, a lot going on, new sewer going in. I was in the design stages at the Eames Shovel Works factory. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and it mirrored my background fairly well. And it's a really, it's a beautiful town. It has a lot of history to it, and I thought it was really interesting. So, when I had my first interview with various town officials, it was very welcoming, and it was a great fit.
Good. Well, I understand it's a good fit. And I understand that you have been responsible for a lot of big projects. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of those?
Yeah, so we've done, and again, not just DPW, but town-wide, with the town administrator's office, the planning, even police, fire, schools. We've had many projects, but some of the biggest ones we've had has been the Five Corners project, where we, basically put in sewer to Mansfield and built a pump station, and we did that with various funding mechanisms. It was very successful, and we brought in the betterments at a really reasonable rate, which is great. We've also done sewer on Queesit, and then the Northeastern Village. I've done a lot of paving projects. We have various road tip projects, and that's the Transportation Improvement Program that's funded by state and federal money. So we've got to do the Union Street intersection's been done. We have Depot Street under construction now. We have Elm Street being designed. Hopefully that'll be constructed in fiscal year 25. And we're just starting design on Foundry Street between Robert Drive and Bay Road.
Wow, I'm exhausted, and I'm sure our listening and viewing audience is too. That's quite a grocery list of things that you have done and accomplished. And they're not small projects, they're big projects. And I assume that on some of these roads and projects you've had to bring in the state officials?
Yes, so the state reviews our design, but we use some consultants to help us with the design, work it through through the whole design realm. They have to be reviewed and approved by Mass DOT for those tip projects. The sewer projects, they don't have to be approved. There's some state funding involved and some low interest loans, so they do get involved in some high level review, but for the most part, that's just town-wide projects.
Now, you mentioned the TIP program. You want to explain that to our viewers?
Sure. So federal and state money is divvied up through our local MPO, which is the Old Colony Planning Council. And we are the 16 communities that can kind of compete for that, a small portion of money. And we're in with Brockton and other towns. Easton's done pretty well getting some TIP funding for our roads. And basically, Mass DOT will build the project once we've designed it, and it's paid for by those state and federal funds. But it usually takes about 10 years from inception of the project to construction.
So was that one of your first projects that you introduced way back 9 years ago when you came on board?
Yeah, when I started, there had been a project need form done for both Depot Street and Union Street. So they were blessed as a project, but all the design had to go forward. So, so my team kind of led the effort with our consultants to get those designed up and lobby, for that funding.
So, and do you have any help over there, or are you just the?
No, it's definitely not just me. So, DPW is comprised of 4 different divisions. So we have administration, which is fairly small. It's myself, the assistant town engineer right now, our GIS manager, and our office assistant. Then we have our highway division, which is supervised by Jake Concession, our highway supervisor. We have our buildings and grounds division, which is headed by Todd Texera. And we have our water division, which is manned by Rich Turney. And so we all work in concert with each other to get all these projects done.
And I'm sure that if you have a water leak on one of your projects, you're talking to that guy who's in charge of water, right?
Yep. Yeah, we work closely on a daily basis. Some of the biggest projects we have right now are water related. I don't know if there's been some notifications out to the public, so they probably have seen or heard about PFAS. And we have some water quality issues and challenges that we're building a treatment plant for on Red Mill Road. So those, the PFAS treatment plants and then the green sand treatment plant for water quality is all going on.
Yeah, I understand that PFAS treatment plant is going to cost over $9 million. But of course, with cost overruns, it's probably going to be a heck of a lot more.
Well, I hope not. I hope not. Right now we're estimating $9.2 million total. That's design, construction, and project startup.
Yeah, it's really a shame because many years ago, some of us in town got up at town meeting. This is long before you arrived. And we warned about PFAS. And we warned that the town wells were very close to a project, the Queesit project, and that there would be a lot of elderly people who were taking pills and other things, and goes right into the sewer, and so we warned about that. Also, we maybe you were here for when they proposed to put the artificial turf at the high school, and again we got up and we said the studies show that PFAS is in this material, and it will be seeping into the groundwater and so forth. So all of those warnings came true, and unfortunately, the taxpayer is paying a hefty sum because they refuse to listen to people like Kyla Bennett, who has her doctorate in biology and is an environmental lawyer, and yours truly, and a few other people who got up and, but people wanted these things very badly. They just refused to listen. And it's really a shame because now you have the burden of seeing that this treatment plant is instituted, right? And, it's really a shame. But it's a good thing that it's being corrected. I mean, and some of us got Kyla Bennett, she told us all to get this 2 water filter system. It's made by, I'm sure you know, A.O. Smith. That's a very famous old company that's well respected. So I got a 2 water filter put under my sink, and so I get separate water, and that's 99.9% free of all toxins, which I use for drinking, and my dog gets that water, and so and for everything else, I wash my hands with even with it, because it can get into your skin. So, and I got it at Lowe's for $123. Very, very cheap. But you have to replace the filters every 6 months, and those cost about $57 for the 2 of them. Yeah.
I just need to go on the record because we work with Mass DEP on this PFAS regulation. So one of the things we initially gave guidance on was the water filters. but DEP has since backed off their recommendation for water filters because they don't necessarily guarantee below the EPA standard of 70 parts per trillion. So I just want to make it clear out there to be consistent with our messaging. You know, PFAS has been in our water most likely for decades, probably since the 50s and 60s. It's prevalent in almost every consumer product we have. Not dismissing any of the concerns about synthetic turf or anything else, but it's been in the environment. It's on our nonstick cookware. It's in our stain guarding on our fabrics.
Anything that slips, that creates a slip. So when you have that fry pan that's non-stick and your egg is sliding around, you're contaminating that egg with PFAS.
Yeah. So most of the consumption, 20% is estimated to be water, but the other 80% of people's exposure is not through water. It's through foods. It's through the environment. So PFAS is something that the town of Easton didn't create, and like many other communities, we're doing, all the communities in Massachusetts are testing for it now, and many are finding it. So it's a challenge in not just the state, but nationally and globally. PFAS is there. It's something that the town of Easton didn't put into our ground, into our water, but we have to deal with it now. The regulations have such. So what we have, if anyone's concerned, and they're in a sensitive subgroup, right now there's a lifetime exposure for PFAS. And they say over 70 years you can consume 20 parts per trillion as a safe level. So we have a couple wells that are over that 20, 29, 23 parts per trillion, depends on what we sample. So if you're concerned or you're in a sensitive subgroup, we do make a water filtration station available at the Water Division building at 417 Bay Road, and people can come and fill up their own containers with filtered water. The water filters for home consumption, although they may work, they're not tested down to that 20 parts per trillion. So I just wanted to get that out there and be consistent with it. The water filters that are certified for the EPA standard of 70 parts per trillion. So they may not be getting the level that is required in Massachusetts. So I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. I'll have to check that out. But of course, the PFAS has been around a long time because people have been buying non-stick, fry pans and carpeting that's, or rather upholstery. What do you call that? And then you spray on that.
Scotch guard and stain guarding. Yeah.
All those things contain PFAS and so forth. But I think the building of some of these big developments close to our wells, plus the artificial turf, has just kicked it into high drive. Is that how you say it? But, okay, so 70 years. What about some of us who, like me, I'm going to be 79 in October. You're supposed to say I don't look at.
You do not. You do not. I was waiting for the pause.
But anyway, so does that mean that I have to be especially careful because I'm not covered with those 70 years? And on the other hand, I was away. I was born and raised here, but I was away for 44 years, so that might help me.
But the chances are, where you were, there was still PFAS. There's about 6,000 different PFAS compounds out in the environment today.
I know.
So the chances are you've been exposed to it wherever you are. And the testing that's going in Massachusetts, Mass DEP has a map up of all the testing that's happening. It's predominantly any urbanized area, and I wouldn't call Easton urbanized, but unless you're a rural, complete farm country with, basically acres between houses, you're finding PFAS in your water.
Isn't the sad thing, from what I understand, is that, as you mentioned, 6,000 PFAS elements, compounds, and how many has the state and the federal government tested?
So
like 6 or 7,
the
right?
water that we're testing is tested for 6 compounds in Massachusetts.
Right.
And those are indicative of the level of PFAS that represent the other compounds.
Don't you think that more than 6 should be tested in the future?
Again, that's, this is where the science comes in. EPA, DEP, they have the toxicology. So we're faced at the Water Division and DPW, we get a lot of these questions about, well, how come this, how come that? Unfortunately, we don't have a say in it. So we're being dictated to by Mass DEP. and said, this is your standard, it's 20 parts per trillion. It's good for a lifetime of exposure at that level, but as soon as you go over 20, they recommend you don't drink it if you're in a sensitive subgroup. They're just, the science is evolving on this, and unfortunately it's one of those things that we tested for PFAS in 2013, but at a parts per billion scale, and it was not detected. Now testing has gotten to a finer level, our parts per trillion, and again, EPA had it at 70, and now Mass DEP has gone down to 20 for those 6 compounds.
So the technology has caught up with, which is a good thing. It should keep us safe. Okay, so let's change that subject.
Sure.
But for our viewers, go to the water department on Bay Road and bring containers. If you don't have a suitable water filter system, there are systems that can go into, for your entire home, which of course is better, but those are kind of pricey.
Yeah, but we can't recommend those because they are not proven to get down to the 20 parts per trillion. So that's why we initially offered a rebate in November of 2019. We implemented a rebate program if people felt they wanted to get a filter, whole house or under sink model. We were giving them a $75 bill credit towards that, but we can no longer do that because we can't, those manufacturers don't certify down to the Mass DEP standard. So I can't say that filters work, but we do provide treated water at the water division that is tested and is below the 20.
Do you think I could still get that $75?
Unfortunately, that's gone by.
No,
so.
But I got it during that time it was offered, and so I couldn't find my receipt or something. I don't know if that mattered.
You can talk to me after, but I think that may have gone by the wayside.
Oh, I think it has too. Anyway, so what do you enjoy most? The design aspect, the implementation aspect. What do you enjoy most?
So, I'm an engineer at heart, so I do enjoy design, but it's tough to find time to really get into design and design a project, soup to nuts and survey it and get it into CAD and develop plans. So generally, once you've been doing engineering, I've been doing this for 24 years. Once you've been doing it for a certain amount of time, you're at project management level and project development level. So I have staff that works with me and does the design. I do enjoy it, but I do enjoy seeing projects come to fruition from basically inception, construction to completion. It's even getting the funding for it, convincing whoever that we need to do something, or getting something assigned and saying, make this happen. It's something different every day. And we have definitely a lot of projects here in Easton that make it interesting.
Well, I know that's the case. Some people have been very annoyed because of the traffic backups and so forth, but I think it's great. We need that sewer. We need it for business, if business is going to come to town, and and also I wish it would come down my street, but it hasn't. And I think it's a wonderful thing to have. Certainly, if you're going to resell your house, it makes a lot of difference in that respect.
We've already seen a lot of the benefits of sewer and just the redevelopment and economic development. Not the environmental aspect of it is first and foremost, especially when you have failing systems in Northeastern Village, which was the primary driver in Northeastern Village, to get those off. But the economic ability to really drive some new economic growth in town with the Queesit Sewer District and with Five Corners is great. And again, the infrastructure improvements, whether we're paving a road, or doing a drainage project, we're doing a sewer project, it's inconvenient. We all understand that. It's a necessary evil, but the inconvenience is temporary, the improvements are permanent. So that's what we try to look at the big picture on that. It doesn't make people feel better when they're sitting in traffic and we get the angry calls.
No, but the benefits are there, the big benefits. So if we get more business to town because we have the sewer, our taxes will hopefully lower, because we're able to, because right now the commercial rate and the residential rate are the same. And so we have to get, I think, 20% commercial in town in order to be able to raise that commercial rate. So there's always hope there. So do you write grants? So
we apply for grants all the time. So I'm primary driver on the green communities. The initial grant initiation for that was done before I got to Easton, but we've gotten over $1 million in grants for green communities since then. So we kind of do that application, we build it, and we get reimbursed from the state. We get grants for a small bridge, so we got $450,000 to replace the South Street culvert when that failed. So that was a grant we at DPW got us. We've done the ESCO project, which is like $3.2 million worth of energy saving improvements that we did throughout town and the school and town buildings to that pays for itself with the energy savings. Yes. So basically the energy savings pays for the bond that we had to take out for that project. So it pays for itself with our new improvements. So.
I tell you something, Mr. Field, you are a true professional, and you have come at the right time in this era of new technology, and also the challenges that we face in terms of toxins in our water, or replacing sewer systems and so forth. When I was growing up in Easton, I mean, the superintendent of public works was somebody who was most of the time a high school grad, who was very muscular and could go out there and sand the roads and then put the tar down and the asphalt, and go out with the tree guys and tell them what to do and so forth. I mean, times have really changed, and the demands and the expertise that you bring, that's wonderful.
Yeah, they definitely have, and there's still plenty of people that have worked their way up, and that's fine. There's still a good path for a person to start, working for highway or build his grounds and work their way up and get promoted and things like that. There's still probably about, in Massachusetts, I'd say like 50-50, in-house talent that's been cultivated and grown, and then there's, like myself, more of the professional engineering side of it. But anyway it comes down to it, it's really, you have to be able to adapt and change. We're doing more with less, and we're really using asset management now to really drive what we have to do. And a lot of the time it's not fully recognized in our funding, but we identify to let the town know what's needed and what our deficiencies are and where we can go to correct that.
Well, that leads me into my next question, which is, what are your challenges that you face in the future, and perhaps what challenges do you feel Easton faces, and how are you going to meet those challenges?
So a lot of those challenges are basically asset management. So we have assets all throughout town, whether it's a road, whether it's a street sign, whether it's a catch basin, excuse me. So we have to know where they are, what the condition is of each of those assets, when they need to be maintained and or replaced. And you basically sum those all up and figure out how much we need to be spending. And
so use spreadsheets.
Well, we use GIS more than anything, so it's a geographic information system. It's a digital file cabinet for us. Shows the location, what the conditions are. We use that for our pavement management right now for our roadways. And right now we know we need $19 million worth of work today to get our roadways to where they should be. And we know that's not feasible. We're basically working on between $500,000 and $1 million a year in roadway funding, and we know we need 19 million right now. So the same thing with our water pipes. We know the age of our water pipes and where they are and what the condition are. Now we need to figure out how much we should be spending to keep that system in good repair. So we're proposing 1.5 million a year in distribution system improvements. And you basically can go through every category, whether it's our public buildings. We have $360 million worth of buildings with schools and town buildings. And we know we should be spending X amount per year to maintain them, and then at some point we'll have to replace them. So basically we try to look at everything. We have bridges, we have culverts that are ours, that they need to be replaced, and there's not a funding mechanism to do that. So our challenges are resources, and really trying to figure out where we can get money, whether it's grant money or state money, and just to prioritize where we, put our efforts into to
So-
keep our infrastructure in good repair.
It's wonderful, and our viewers should know, taxpayers of Easton, that Mr. Field is out there getting federal and state money, and now with today, this is August 9th, 2021, the big infrastructure bill was passed in the Senate, and so I forget how many billion, 160 billion, I think, are going to go for roads and bridges. Does that make you happy?
It does. Getting that money is a little harder than it looks, and we'll do our best to be ready for that. If any of that should come our way, and there's definitely some ARPA money that is coming to Easton that could be used possibly for some infrastructure or a combination of infrastructure and health initiatives, things like that. But always looking for all avenues to get some of these projects done. We have a lot of needs, and it's kind of daunting, but we need to know what we need to where we have things and how much we need to fix it.
So you need to know what are the critical areas and in order of priority, and meet those.
Yep.
So all you Easton taxpayers, when Mr. Field gets up at town meeting and proposes or explains why he needs X dollars for X projects, think about being there and voting to help him do his job for you. After all the benefits that he administers throughout the DPW are for your benefit and my benefit. So, and I'm sure that we can see them too as we drive around, and we can see the benefits. And the school building that's coming on board, the Blanche Ames School Building, elementary school, did you have, in conclusion, let's talk about that. Did you have some input in that?
Yeah, I'm on the school planning committee. I serve as an ex officio member, and then my staff is heavily involved with the actual construction of it. We went through the design process. We met with the architects, talked about the elements we'd like to see as far as maintenance and things like that, and they incorporated a lot of those thoughts and concerns that myself and my staff had, and now it's being incorporated into the construction, and then we're right there through every step of the way. I have a weekly meeting with the school team every week, and we look at all the proposed change orders and any type of change requests that come in, and then my staff does walkthroughs every week as well to watch construction. So it's definitely something I've been, that's been a couple of years in the making. It's been a lot of work, but it's a great feature, and especially where it's funded partially by the Massachusetts School Building Authority, and then we can basically retire 3 pretty tired schools that need a lot of maintenance.
Well, I have one final question. When do you sleep?
The good thing is I have a great staff, so I'm not doing this alone. That's for sure. And again, we work really cooperatively with all the departments, so it may sound like a lot, and it is. But my guys and women in the department do a fabulous job. And a lot of the stuff is stuff people don't see. We're out mowing the roadsides. No one really looks at drainage pipes and outfalls that go beneath the roads. But that's stuff that DPW takes care of. You have clean water to drink when you turn on the tap, and if you're on the sewer system, when you flush, it goes somewhere. Our fields are mowed, the roads are paved and plowed.
And the inside of the town offices gets painted.
Yep.
I mean, it's amazing. So
yeah, I have a great staff. So it's not just me, that's for sure.
Well, I'm sure that your leadership is critical to the challenges that you face daily and those challenges you will face in the future. So we thank you so much, Dave Field, for coming and sharing your story and the story of Easton, about what the challenges are and what and the support that you get, so that we have now a better idea of the job and the challenges. And you out there, get to town meeting and vote to support Mr. Field's projects, and know that he has done everything he can to find sources of money from the federal and state level. And we can only hope that this infrastructure bill that passed in the Senate and is going to the House will make a big difference, not just to Massachusetts, but to Easton and to all of you out there. So, Dave, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So this is Priscilla Almquist-Olsen on August 9th, 2021. Hoping that you've enjoyed this program as much as Dave and I have enjoyed presenting it. And until next time, be well. Take care.